Carlos Mendoza, new Mets manager, joining us right now. Carlos, congratulations. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, guys. Scott, AJ, Kratzy. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
you
me.
got a
How you
good
guys
crew.
doing?
We're great. So
Dímelo. Está
take
fría
us.
ahí.
There you go. Take us
Mírale,
through.
pégala.
Well, now, Kratz, you gotta translate for us. Help us
Oh
out.
no, I said, is it cold there?
It is. I just came
Yeah.
from outside and right into it.
So Carlos, let's just start with the intro press conference. How was it, and what was the most interesting question that you got?
Man, that's a good one, Scott. It was a great day. It was a really good day. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that my family was able to come up, especially my parents, flying all the way from Venezuela. Last minute, not easy, but I'm glad that they were able to come and enjoy this special day. It was great. A lot of familiar faces, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So as far as
Who
the
was happier?
questions, I don't know. It's New York, right?
Yeah.
But I was pretty prepared, and I enjoyed it.
Who was happier? You or your family for you to get this job?
My family, for sure. Not that I wasn't. I was, I was speechless. Dream come true, right? But my family, because as you guys know, all the sacrifices. Especially my wife and kids. And then my mom and dad, but especially wife and kids. And all, daddy's away from home for a long time, and with me doing winnable for the past couple of years, like he was a sacrifice. All the way. When I started coaching and playing, and so yeah, it was a big day, and we enjoyed it.
You got to the big leagues finally in 2018, right? When you got on the
That's correct.
Yankees. Yeah. In your time in the last, so that's 6 seasons, have you wanted to be a manager more? Like, has that made your passion to be a big league manager more? Or have you seen things that you're like, I kind of like being a bench coach?
No, you know what? I was always trying to be the best version of Carlos Mendoza, right? How can I help guys? How just be the best version of yourself, right? And at the time when I first came up, I was the quality control coach slash infield coach, and at the time I didn't know what the quality control was supposed to do, and but then once I became the bench coach, that was my biggest thing. How can I help Booney, and take as much as possible off his plate, and that was always the goal. Opportunities came, and I had some experiences talking to other teams, for potential managerial interviews and all that. But I'm very excited about joining the Mets now.
Carlos, can you do us just one little favor, please? Can you just
Sure.
center yourself? Because we want to see all of your face. We don't only want to see half. So there you go. No, see how you're kind of off to the side?
I know.
That's
I don't
better.
know. Better.
Okay, that's no. See, you keep moving. There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah!
Got it. Got it.
Welcome to the New York media. There you go. The first question, because I don't know you, obviously, I don't think I've ever met you, but Kratz knows you, says great things. People have said a million great things about you. So the one question I want to know is, you're from Venezuela. So
Right.
was Ozzie Guillen has. Please tell me he's not your hero as a Venezuelan manager.
I got so many stories with him, because when I first started playing in Winnable, I played with Ozzy.
How old was he? Like 60 years old at that time?
He was towards the end of his career, probably his last year. So yeah, and then when you guys won, he brought the trophy. Joy Cora was the manager at the time. In
Yes, he
Winnable.
was our manager, right?
Yeah, so I was a player for Joy, and Ozzy, kept coming back, and he will hang out with us in the locker room, and yeah, I know him pretty well.
So, well, no, because now correct me if I'm wrong, you're only the second full-time
Yes.
Venezuelan-born manager,
Yes.
right? It's you and
Yes.
Ozzy. So
Yes.
when you go back to Venezuela, that's a huge deal, because, listen, I've been around Ozzy for 20 years now, and Venezuela, right? But he tells stories when he goes back, people still are like, oh my God, you're Ozzy Guillen.
Yeah.
So now for you to be the second guy, and you talk about your parents and your family and everyone, I mean, that has to mean so much to not only you, but also Venezuela.
Yeah, it was a great day, not only for the Venezuelan people, but the Latin community. You know, like especially with the people that knows me and what I went through and the grinding. You know, playing in the minor leagues, not reaching the big leagues as a player, and getting an opportunity to coach at the big league level, and now being named the manager is it's something that I don't take lightly. I'm very proud of it, and I'm happy to represent our country.
Did Ozzy
Yeah.
call you? Did Ozzy
He,
call
te-
you?
he texted me.
Oh, I was going to say that son of a bitch better like at least reached out to you. Otherwise, I'll call him right now and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
No, he texted me. I saw him this year. We talked at the stadium when we were in Chicago. I mean, a lot of stories, as you know.
Yeah, a lot of them you can't tell on this show either.
We can tell all of them on this show. But
Yeah.
if he's a White Sox, like AJ's a White Sox, he doesn't necessarily want you to do great because he wants to be the jefe in Venezuela. So, AJ doesn't really want the White Sox to win another world championship because that way he's always we're the only one to win the world championship, all that stuff. So don't let Ozzy take your flame away here, okay?
He'll be very proud. Hopefully that's the case. That we're having this conversation, and he'll be the one coming to Venezuela with that trophy. Hopefully, right? So
now when you came to the United States in '97 and you were playing in Salem,
yep.
did you think it would take this long till you were like having a moment that like meant, wow, I am now like I've arrived? Or did you think, hey, I'm going to be in the big leagues super soon, just like my hero?
So, Kratzy, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, the goal was always to play in the big leagues. I was just surviving. I was, 1996, coming from Venezuela. I thought I knew a little bit of English. And I remember, getting the first day in instructional league. And the coach said something to me as, as simple as like, how was dinner or how was your flight? I had no idea what he was telling me. I was like, oh my God, like, not only the language where I didn't know what to expect, like, let alone, like, the goal was always to play in the big leagues, but it was just a big transition for me. 16 years old, coming to another country, not knowing the language. It was hard, man. It was hard.
All right, I have tons of great fan questions. I actually want to start with a statement first. So Mike in our YouTube chat said, I wonder how much easier the transition is since Carlos doesn't have to worry about uprooting his family since he's just taking a job across the city. I'm sure you were looking for the right fit, just like the Mets were looking for the right fit, but it doesn't hurt that you're still in New York City, right?
Yeah, and I was, when David first called me and, like to start the interview process, my kids and wife, they were, very, very happy because they love New York. This been home for us the past 6 years, and they're pretty familiar with everything, here. And the fact that I get the opportunity to stay here in New York and now do it with the Mets as the manager is special for us.
All right, so here's another one from Armand who wants to know if you'll have final say on the coaching staff. I think you were asked yesterday about it. You probably haven't gotten to all of that yet since you just got the job. So sure, if you want to just lay out your entire coaching staff or your wish list for us, we'll take it. But if not, how does the process work? Like, what's next? Do you sit down and say, hey, here's who I want? Does the front office say, here's people that we've already spoken to? Take us through the process.
Yeah, there's a bunch of names thrown on the table right now. We're going back and forth. We got a lot of positions that we need to fill in, and we're just beginning that process now. Listen, the news came out. I think it was last Monday, but there was nothing we could have done because I needed to go back, past background check and all that. So I was kind of like feeling with my hands tied. It was like, man, I got to get to work. I got to call people. I got to call players. And that didn't happen until Friday. So we are in the very early stages of putting together that coaching staff. And like I said, we're getting calls and texts, and we're throwing out names out there to kind of narrow it down and start the interview process for a lot of the positions that we got here available.
Mendy, I don't know about your background check, but you are not passing a physical. So I am sure they didn't give you a physical.
I passed, Grazie.
Okay, good. I'm glad you passed. What is David Stearns like? Did you know him before this
No,
interview?
no,
Yeah,
nothing.
I knew him from being with the
Brewers.
Brewers. What
Right.
is your impression of David Stearns in the little week and a half, 2 month that you've known him now, and how he's going to turn this Mets organization around in the city of New York, which you've been in for the last 6 years?
Humble, super smart, but somebody that cares about people and relationships, and that goes a long way for me. That's what I'm all about. The people, relationship, process, and he's just a great human being. When I first started talking to him, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a humble guy. And we connected right away, and going through the process, and it was great, and I'm happy to partner with him.
So I'll mix in two fan questions that are kind of on the same topic here. This is very popular all the time. So you'll get this more from fans than from media, right? Because we know that in an organization, almost all of them, there's a pretty good mix of information that's being passed around that helps to make decisions, right? So Ronald said, are you allowed to make your own starting lineup every day? Are you allowed to make in-game gut decisions during a game? And then Liam asked, how do you like to structure your lineups? So all around that topic of how you get to that process, which you're coming from a team where you were with the Yanks, you got to see how that worked every day.
Yeah, listen, it's not a secret that everybody's using some type of information, right? When it comes down to making out a lineup and, managing a bullpen, all that, the information is great. But I think it comes down to people, getting to know the people, having a feel for the game. This is a game of adjustments, and you're going to go into a game with plan A, B, C, and D, and then you're going to have to execute plan and, like you name it, because the game will tell you what you're going to do. As far as lineup construction, there's a lot that goes into it. Like who you're facing. Like what's your roster. It's that's where it starts. But the information's great. But at the end of the day, it's about having a feel for the game and being able to make adjustment. There's an art to it, right? When you're managing, when you're coaching, and that's all part of it. Yeah. But to answer your question, you use the information, but then you that's why you prepare. Preparation gives you confidence, and that's how I'm going to approach it. Right? You have to make adjustments. I'm going to surround myself with great baseball people, great baseball minds. They are going to be prepared, but they're going to be there to support me and advise me. So yes.
Carlos, what did you learn from Aaron Boone? You were there for a while underneath Booney. What was the one thing he said to you that stuck and that you're going to carry over now to the other side of town? When you go in the Subway Series, you're going to be like, oh, Aaron Boone taught me that. I'm going to use that against him.
Oh, look, a lot. I consider him a friend, big brother. He gave me the first opportunity to coach in the big leagues. Number one thing, he's consistency, especially here in New York, having a good support system outside of the baseball field, which is my family. I learned that a lot from him too. And then just how the way he earns the respect from his players, and that's something that just by watching him doing his team day in, day out, I learn a lot from him.
What's the one thing you're going to miss the least about being a bench coach?
Oof, spring training scheduling.
Dang it! I was gonna say besides spring training schedules.
Man, those are long days. I mean, I remember my first year doing it back in 2018. I was getting to the ballpark at 4 a.m. and I was getting home by 7:30, and I still felt like, man, I don't have enough time, And but I had great people around me that helped me and guided me through it. And I could say that last year, when I was doing it, I wasn't getting there at 4 a.m., but I was getting there pretty early.
I was there in 18, your first year, and you didn't look panicked at all.
Well, I don't know about that. I guess I fake it well, but I wasn't getting much sleep.
You look like a chicken with his head cut off.
There you go. You saw it right away. Yeah, it wasn't easy, man. It was a big transition for me coming from the minor leagues. Even though I was doing some of that as a field coordinator, lower level field coordinator, coordinating spring training in New York, it's a challenge.
I'll keep being the fan question guy. So Mills asks, do you think you'll have a better relationship and rapport with Spanish-speaking players as opposed to other managers that don't speak Spanish, I think is what he meant to say. Can you relate to them more? Is the communication that much better? If yes, how would that manifest itself after all is said and done?
Look, the way I see it, you have to treat everyone the same. Yeah, I'm bilingual, and that will help. In some of those conversations that I have with some of the Latin players. But at the end of the day, you treat everyone the same. You respect everyone. You earn the respect from everyone, and that's building relationship, having those connections, showing that you care about people, whether you're from Venezuela, from Dominican, whatever that might be. It's about it comes down to people and relationships, and no matter where you're coming from, you're gonna get the best version of Carlos Mendoza.
Have you hopped on the 7 train yet to get to your new job?
Not since I got the job, but when for the Subway Series I did all the time. I didn't want to drive. I just took the 7th train and let's go, straight shot.
But now you're the jefe. Now you're the guy.
I don't know about the jefe, but
Dugout jefe.
You're the jefe.
Yes. We'll see. I love getting on that train, but we'll see how it goes.
So, Carlos, getting a lot of questions from fans asking about the dynamic of mixing in young players, right? It was talked about a lot last year with the Mets. Hey, we've got some prospects. How do we time out when is best to bring them up? Which obviously the front office has a say too, because you're not watching the minor league games all the time. But even once they get up to the big league level, especially if it's a top prospect, making sure that they develop, but also get everyday reps so that they're not coming up there and having to sit unless I guess maybe it's late in the season. So what have you observed? I know you were with the Yankees, so you probably haven't gone too in depth yet on the current situation, but what do you observe from what the Mets have in terms of some of the younger talent that got to mix itself in last year and the dynamic between that and maybe having to tell a veteran player, hey, we gotta push you aside a little bit?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of talent here, and especially after they made those move during the trade deadline, and they acquired some of the players that are going to be ready to compete here in New York, and I'm excited to have those guys. And there's always development, you're always teaching, you're always coaching, whether you're a prospect or whether you are established player. They want to be coached as much as possible too, and that's the balance, right? But at the end of the day, just creating an environment where everybody feels welcome, especially these young players coming up. I think it's important for them to feel comfortable. Because at the end of the day, it's just baseball, right, that you're playing. But holding them accountable, showing how to prepare and how to respect the game and how to play the game the right way. Those are some of the things that are important to all of us.
Carlos, have you slept since you got hired? Have you slept since you've been told you're the manager of the Mets?
Better now, AJ. Better.
Okay.
A little bit better now.
Because my next question is you think you're in the manager's office, aren't you? Because the thing
I am.
So how long does it take you to rearrange the office? Have you already taken Buck Showalter stuff and been like, you're out, I'm in. Let's go.
No, I came in for the first time yesterday, and he was ready to go. And listen, now that you mentioned Buck, man, so I'm not replacing Buck. This is a potential Hall of Famer, right? And people, don't forget the fact that they won up, more than 100 games in 2022. So he started to create a winning culture here that I'm just coming in and looking to continue to add to that culture. So a lot of respect to Buck. Competing against him, you needed to be prepared. So this is an honor and a privilege to be sitting here.
Okay, so as the new manager of the New York Mets, have you reached out to Lindor? Have you reached out to Pete Alonso? Have you reached out to some of these guys? Is that the first thing you make? As soon as they say, hey, Carlos, guess what? You're the new manager of the Mets. So you're like, I need all these guys' numbers. Because I think if I was ever hired the first thing I'd want to do is get to my
100%.
players and introduce myself, right?
100%, and that's what I did. But again, I needed to pass my background check, AJ. So I was
Wait, do they?
like-
So wait, no. Do they fingerprint you and they run you through like the database? I mean,
no, it's just like information that I needed to be filling, and then it takes a few days for for them to go through it. But as soon as I got the green light, I think I've talked to pretty much every position player. I'm still texting guys. They don't know my number, so I'm still waiting to hear from them. But the guys that you mentioned, Lindor, P, Nemo, McNeil, all of those guys, Edwin Diaz. I spoke with all of them. Man, like the other day I had a conversation with Pete Alonso, and we were on the phone for like 45 minutes. And, I felt like we could have kept going. So, no, it's been great. It's been great, AJ.
So last one here. Can you give us like one really interesting piece of info that you learned, say, in that call with Pete or with any of the Mets players that you were like, I didn't think about that?
No, I don't think anything stuck out. It was more like getting to know each other. I want them to get to know me as much as possible. I got to earn their respect, and that's going to take time. And it's starting now. So that's the purpose of making these phone calls now. And I'm planning on making visits and have a face-to-face, and so they can get to know a lot more about Carlos Mendoza,
Carlos, gracias for your time, but I got one more pregunta for you, okay?
Yeah, Kratzy.
How soon are you getting thrown out of your first game? Because you said you learned a lot from Booney. So how soon is it? Are we talking April or are we talking May? Because it's cold in April.
Spring training.
People talk about that he's never managed before at the big league level. I was told, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the year when Booney, in the period of, in a week, he got thrown out like 3 times. I was like, man, you're the 31st manager in the big leagues, Like, I got to manage quite a bit by being the bench coach for Booney, but, I love him. So
that's awesome. That's why he's big brother, because he allowed him to kind of get some reps in there. So,
yeah.
Carlos, congratulations.
Thanks,
We'll talk to you in spring training. Enjoy the ride here in the off season. Know it'll be busy as hell, and have fun.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, AJ.
Hey, when you swing by Lindor's in Orlando, feel free to stop by. Lindor can buy us both dinner.
There you go.
We're here. Cheers,
Thanks,
Carlos.
Thanks, Carlos.
Take care.